day 4 of the daily live photo challenge for July. And it's very sunny out today. So my plan is to take a photo in the shade. And I spotted something to try and get a photo of. My tripod with me. And trying something a little different again today because if you'll notice, I do not have my microphone with me. I don't want to talk about why. It's my own fault. It's broken again. Sucks. All right. Flipping this around. I'm going to go down here. I'm just adjusting my tripod for a second here. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me because it's also kind of windy right now, which is unfortunate because of the fact that I don't have my microphone, and my microphone helps with the wind. But whatever, we're gonna keep on going with the daily challenge despite complications, which apparently are many. So what I found this morning, we live out in the country and we get wild turkeys on our property, and there's a wild turkey feather that fell, and I thought it might look cool. Get a close up. That's what I'm gonna try and do, and I really hope you can hear me, even though there's wind and no microphone today. So we'll begin. Okay, with a shallow depth of field. I don't know, I feel like you're not supposed to touch feathers. Maybe there's like heart diseases or something that could be on them. I don't know how much of an issue that is, so I'm kind of hoping to just leave it here. Try to get as close as I can. Sorry, I'm silent. I'm getting it in focus. So, a tip that I have for manual focus with macro photography, and this is just something I've learned recently as I've gotten more into macro. Sometimes when you have a really shallow depth of field, just moving your camera slightly will bring the photo in or out of focus. And so if you just kind of sway a little bit and take a bunch of photos in a row, then one of them will be in focus. So I'm noticing that I'm really running into that here because of how shallow I have the depth of field. So I'm going to just try that a little bit. I'm going to be quieter then. Sorry, another mosquito got me. is a different angle, which I really don't know how much it matters to touch feathers. Maybe if any of you watching knows, let me know, but I'm just going to move it with the sticks just in case it matters. Because I want to get a different angle. I need to be able to get lower. And actually, field is super shallow and I'm not sure I love it right now. So I'm trying to move a little bit. Well, I don't know if I'm going to love this one, but we'll see what I got. And we'll see what kind of thumbnail I end up with, whether it looks cool or kind of meh, but that may happen as I go through this. I have the screen flipped around, so if anyone who's watching wants to say anything in the chat, I'll be able to see it now, which I wouldn't have been able to do before. I can see that 2 of you are there. There is something I did want to talk about this time, now that I'm done with the photo part. So I'm going to bring this tripod over to the chair so that I can chat with you a little bit. Hi, Judith. Oh, I don't know if I can see your previous messages if I wasn't there when you sent them. I think I could see them when I watched the replay, but I don't know of a way. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. When I'm close, you can hear me, but not when I'm far away. Yeah. I don't know if you caught the very beginning, but I was explaining that I don't have my microphone today because I had another situation with that. I can't believe it. The day after I order the replacement part, I have another issue. So unfortunately, I don't have what I need to connect the microphone receiver to my camera on my phone. So it was no microphone or nothing today, so I'm really sorry if it was just super boring watching me try to shoot that feather. If you couldn't really hear much of what I was saying at all. But, I mean, each day I learn something new, it seems. Before I end the live today, though, I had another thing that I was thinking about that I thought I would share. This morning, I mentioned yesterday that I've been reading a book called The Book of Alchemy, and each chapter comes with a prompt. And I read a new chapter this morning, and the prompt was to sit for 5 minutes and basically do nothing, just let your mind wander. And then at the end of the 5 minutes to just write about any thoughts or questions or answers that came to mind. And I wrote about a few things, but the main thing that I was writing about that came to mind was I was thinking about how we tend to, how there's 2 ways to think. One is to focus on what's not going well, just in your life or in any particular area of your life. Thinking about what's not going well, what's not working, and what you're frustrated with, versus thinking about what is going well, what you're grateful for and you're happy about. And in the first way of thinking, you're really focusing on what you can't do. And in the second, you're focusing on what you can do, I feel like. So the first option, focusing on everything that's not going well and all the things that you can't get to make work and things that are frustrating, it really leads to spiraling downward and doesn't generally have any positive or productive result, but yet I feel like it's the easiest way, it's like the easiest default way to think. At least in my experience, I think it's really easy to fall into that. But I think we tell ourselves that it's productive because if we were to ignore the things that aren't going well, we're never going to fix them. They're never going to get dealt with. And so we think it's productive to focus on them. But I think the only productive way to think about those things is to ask ourselves what we can do about it, which takes us into the other way of thinking, focusing on what we can do. And if the answer really is that there's nothing you can do about it, then I think at that point, you have to let it go. You have to just let go of the outcome because it's out of your control. And that might mean, you know, if you believe in God, that might be thinking about putting it in God's hands, trusting God to believe that it's going to work out for the best. And if you don't believe in God, maybe whatever terminology you might use, you know, some people will talk about the universe and you know, the universe has got your back, believing that that's the case. Because once it's out of your control, there's nothing you can do. And so you can focus on it and spiral downward and feel terrible, but it's not going to be productive. And letting go and trusting is going to feel a lot better. And so if we can shift into that place of asking ourselves, well, what can I do? Then that's more productive. And if you get to the point where you have to let it go, I think the next place to focus your thoughts, rather than spiraling or ruminating on the frustrating side of things, is to go into gratitude and think about what is going well in your life, even if it's not in this area. If it's in this area, great, but zoom out on your whole life and think, what is going well? What are you grateful for? And what can you do that is working or that is positive? And I think as you go into that place of gratitude, whatever gratitude practice you may have, just thinking about it, writing about it, taking photos of things you're grateful for, whatever it is, as you do that, you are finding evidence and finding proof that God or the universe has your back and that you can trust and rely on something outside of yourself and know that it's going to turn out because you're finding evidence of it turning out in other areas. And I think that helps make it a little bit easier to let go and trust, and leads you to a more positive place. Anyway, it's just something I was thinking about this morning because of that prompt, and I thought I would share it here. So yeah, we'll see what kind of feather photo I come up with today for the thumbnail, and thanks for joining me. I did want to ask a question too, if you made it this far into the video, if you want to answer it in the comments when this is published, if you're rewatching it. Thanks, Judith. Yeah. Glad to see someone agrees that we're kind of on the same wavelength with this one. So this is kind of an unrelated question, but it is also related to what the whole series is about. And I was just curious if you have ever done a daily project or a daily habit or routine or challenge, or like when is a time when you have done something daily? Maybe it was an exercise program that something you did every day, or maybe it was a creative project like this. Yeah, I'd just be curious to hear about it. I always think it's really interesting. And was it a long-term thing or a short-term thing? How long did you stick with it? What was your experience? I'd love to hear more about it if you want to share in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you in a new video tomorrow. We'll see if I can get a microphone back for next time. Thanks for joining me live, Judith, and to anyone else who watched the replay. Bye.